In the previous video, I showed you the process of pinching a cup, and I even made a foot ring for it, and I allowed this to get leather hard. Again, for my students, I recommend 24 hours in your damp cabinet uncovered, and usually it gets it leather hard. Now, once it's leather hard, I'm just going to set the foot ring to the side. What my goal is to really even out this the pinch texture on the inside and the outside. And I am going to kind of give myself a stable bottom right there so it doesn't tip and rock as I'm working on this. You have a couple of tools that will be your friend for this. Number one, this is a Sureform or a shredder. This is a Mud Tools brand shredder. And again, I will have links to these in the video. I think Stanley is the one that makes it, and they call it a Sureform. Mud Tools calls it a shredder. It's really very much like a cheese grater, though, the way that it works. When you draw it across the surface, it has a cutting direction where it cuts in one direction only, so it's not a back and forth sawing motion. This is more of a pulling motion that I use. You can use this in nice long strokes as you go around the piece, and this will help to get rid of the significant denting that you have. Now, the interior, it's impossible to use a shredder that's shaped with this sort of shape because, it just won't fit in there. There are shredders that are made that will fit in there. And these that are made like this, their edge is curved, so it will wrap around. So when I use the interior of this, I'm pretty much just using the corner, and be very careful not to jab it down in the bottom. So I'm using just the edge or the corner of it where it wraps on the side, and I'm pulling this in a diagonal pulling motion. Using a Sureform is a great tool, but you want to pay attention to the direction in which you are pulling it. Sureforms really work well when you are using them in long strokes, and quite often when you're using them in a diagonal stroke. So as I pull this along, I overlap my strokes, and sometimes you may find if you're going up the side, pull it in a diagonal fashion. The goal is you want to get rid of flat spots, dents, and other noticeable surface defects. Now, don't worry about these lines. These lines will all easily come out when I go to rib that. Okay. So again, I'm just looking for flat spots, dents, things like that. Okay, now for doing the top edge, I really want to make sure that I have a nice level top edge. There are a couple different ways that you can mark it. You could create your own little jig if you want, say something like this, where I were to put it, I'm going to try to find where's the lowest point of the pot and bring it up to the lowest point. All right, I'm going to say about this height. So if I hold this, I've made like a little jig. I'm pressing the end of the wooden tool down against the board, and I hold my needle tool nice and still. That is a nice way. I've just kind of made a jig, and you have to hold it really tight. I made a little jig like that, and it's very, the needle tool is not sticking out very far. It's close to the pot, and as you spin the pot, that helps you to get a nice even line. Now, you could take a knife and you could cut it off, which is a fine way if you have a steady hand. If you lack a steady hand, though, what you would want to do is use a Sureform. And for that, I'm finally going to sit down. I'm going to kind of get my eyes down level with the line, get my eyes down level with the edge. And as I do this, I just want to bring it down to the level that I've drawn, just down to it. And then I'm going to go in there with my eyes looking straight across. I want to make sure that it's as level as I can possibly get this. There we go. Okay. And that's looking pretty good for my edge level. Now for a cup, that rim is still super thick. So I am going to take a little bit more off, and I'm going to do this from the inside. I'm going to take some of the thickness off. And you really want to watch the thickness of your edge because you want to really keep it even. You don't want to suddenly have a super thin spot to it. Again, I'm pulling diagonally as I use this on the interior. Now, when you're leather hard, the Sureform is really nice. If you're much softer than leather hard, you will definitely find that it kind of gums up and it's a bit of a nuisance. If that is the case, you can always just let it dry a little bit longer so it doesn't gum up so much. Once I have removed a lot of the denting, then I'm going to go to the stainless steel scraper. This is like a little baby rib. Again, it's a Mud Tools, and I'm going to scrape, and you could do it really inside or outside. I don't think it makes much of a difference which of the two you're going to do first. But I'm going to be scraping away the Sureform marks and the denting. Now the interior is significantly harder to do than the exterior because of course you're getting your hand down in there, and especially if you have like a really narrow cup form, you might not be able to get your hand down in there easily. And if that's the case, we can always try something else. Quite often I tell my students, if you're trying to get the bottom and you can't reach down in there, use the rounded end of a wooden knife. They work really well to get down in there, and you're basically scraping it just like you would with the stainless steel scraper, but you just have a tiny edge that you're using rather than the big one. So it's a combination of knowing what tools to use. Sureforms, metal scrapers, wooden knives are all your friends for this. Okay. All right. That's looking a little bit better on the inside. Okay, now for the exterior, when I start scraping this, again, I'm going to use like diagonal pulling, and it helps to kind of level out those Sureform marks a little bit more. Again, you want to do this part when it's leather hard. If you let the clay dry beyond leather hard before you've done this, it's going to be a difficult time getting that nice and clean. I do recommend when you are doing this that if you stand, you often have a little bit better leverage because you can, really pull. If you're sitting, sometimes it's harder to see because I'm really looking down the side of the pot as I do this. Now I have been working upright until now. Now I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do the bottom part. And when you go to do the bottom, you really want to make sure that the bottom of it looks like it's in the middle, that it is round and in the middle. If it's off center when you do this, it's going to look asymmetrical. So you want to make sure that that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, that's looking loads better than it did. Take some of that edge thickness down a little bit there. Okay. All right, next, I haven't added the foot ring until this point because I really wanted to clean the outside of it a little bit more. If you add the foot ring early on, like on the first day that you make it, you will have a hard time getting in there to clean it. So it's a little bit easier if you give it 24 hours until it's leather hard. So this foot ring, I'm going to score all surfaces of the cup, and I'm going to score kind of that flattened surface. When I first made the foot ring, I kind of squished it down so it kind of fit the form of the cup a little bit. I'm going to be aggressive and score this. Okay. And then definitely add a nice amount of slip. All right. I want to make sure that this looks like it is in the middle. And then because this foot ring is still in the leather hard state, I can take my wooden knife and I can blend it to get it to attach. Now this foot ring is bigger than I want it to be. I'm going to come in here and I will clean this and Surform this in the same manner. I just like to clean the cup without the foot ring on. Some of you might not mind putting the foot ring on and cleaning the cup with it. So whatever you prefer. I just try to present things what I think are the easiest ways for my students to work. I should mention, if you didn't get a chance to actually make the foot ring on the first day, you could make it today and then store it physically on it overnight, and then the next day, when the moisture is evened out between them, you can add them together. You don't have to make the foot ring on the first day. Okay, but if I want to go ahead and move on now, I can with Surforming this level because it's definitely lumpy. Again, put my eyes level with it. And then I'm going to just take some off on the outside. I'm going to use the edge of this Surform again. Kind of get that little edge in there. On the interior of the foot, I'm taking some off. So once I've done the smoothing with the metal rib, then it's a matter of smoothing it with a softer rib. So from the metal, I move to the yellow, and I really love these Mud Tool yellow ribs. They're slightly flexy, so you can conform it to the sides of the pot. And I use the little ribs inside and outside both. I always start with the hardest rib, which is the metal, then go to the slightly softer, which is yellow, and then eventually the red is going to be the one that you kind of follow it all up with. The red gives you that super smooth, compressed surface that's ready for surface design. So I still need to work a little bit longer on this. I still need to rib a little bit more on the inside. I need to rib a little bit more down here. But just with a little bit more persistence and work, I will get this looking pretty uniform, and I should be happy with it, and then I'll be ready for surface design. I'll get the handle on too, so that will be another day. Check out the next video on how to make handles. I show a fake pulled handle technique, and then the video after that will show how to attach them. I do want to show my students what to do with the scraps that you have taken off of your leather hard cups. Leather hard scraps like this, I usually keep leather hard pieces separate from the plastic clay, because if I just threw a bunch of leather hard stuff into the pug mill at once and I had a bunch of plastic clay in there, you could end up by getting a lot of lumps. So what I usually do is put it in a bucket by itself and make sure that you have no tools, no foreign matter, no debris that doesn't belong in there. And this is one of my 2 stoneware. I do call it a slip bucket, but this can be for slip or it can be for dry leather hard or drier pieces. So it says what goes in the slip bucket: trimming scraps, so trimming scraps from the wheel or trimmings like this, little pieces of clay from your splash pan that are too small to hold in your hand, so when you're working on the wheel, if you have tiny bits, or leather hard or bone dry pieces go in here. What does not go into the slip bucket, don't ever put, if you threw clay on the wheel and you have large chunks, don't put that in here. That goes in the pug mill. Big chunks of clay that are too wet to wedge but big enough to hold in your hand, again, that goes in the pug mill. And don't put plastic clay in here, because wads of plastic clay, they should go in the pug mill. If you have scrap clay at your table, don't put it in the bucket, because the bucket is for dry stuff. I will recycle that. It takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to recycle what's in the bucket, and I don't want plastic stuff in there, because plastic I can recycle in the pug mill in 5 to 10 minutes. So if you are careful, you can scrape it off the side of the table like that. And these couple of buckets are located between sinks 1 and 2 on the counter and sinks 3 and 4 on the counter.